Welcome to NACTV Reads the News. My name is Christine Waddell, and I'm one of many volunteers that help create programming for our station. NACTV is seen on MTS, Channel 30 or 1030, Westman Cable Channel 117, Bell Satellite Channel 592, or online at nactv.tv. If you have friends that have Shaw cable and they want to be able to see NACTV, have them contact their internet provider, their Shaw provider, and tell them they want their local channel on their cable service. These programs are made possible by our volunteers, staff, advertisers, as well as donations made by you, the viewers. If you're enjoying your NACTV experience, please consider supporting us by either donation or volunteering. You can contact our office at 204-476-2639 or at nactv@wcgwave.ca. So this week in the Nipah Banner and Press, not one section, not two sections, but 3 sections of newspaper. And the grad section is the real one that you'll all want to make sure you pick up your copy and read all the wonderful graduates who had a really challenging 2 years. The second graduating class to not have a normal graduation. So be sure to pick up a Nipah Banner and Press this week. I'm not even going to start into it. There's so many names and so many young people who have achieved so much. Please take time to read it, and if you recognize any names, find a way to contact them and congratulate them and wish them well in their new endeavors. But we will go and we'll just read through page by page as we go. The front page is Nanaimo Rotary continues to support the community, and it's a nice photo of the Roxy Theatre, which is community owned and operated. And on June 11th, the Rotary Club of Nipah made a $1,500 donation to the Nipah Theatre Centre to pay for the Roxy Theatre's bathroom upgrades. Nipah Rotary Club President Wayne Jacobson, Nipah Theatre Centre Board members Kate Jackman Atkinson, Kay Diath, and Leslie Strelzik. And it's been a challenging 18 months for that organization as well, and they appreciate that. So here is what Kira Patterson had to say in her article. And the subhead, 13 different organizations benefit from annual fundraising effort. The Nipah Rotary Club just made another donation to add to its list of recipients. On Friday, June 11, the club donated $1,500 to the Nipah Theatre Centre to help pay for the Roxy Theatre's bathroom upgrades. This is one of 13 donations that the Rotary Club has made to members organizations over the 2020-21 season. This is the kind of tail end of the proceeds from our Rotary auction, which we distribute throughout the community and throughout the year, as those who read the Nipah Banner and Press and watch NACTV have seen on a number of occasions. Noted Nipah Club President Wayne Jacobson. Kate Jackman Atkinson, board member of NTC, stated that they will be using this money to help bring the bathrooms up to COVID-19 expectations by installing hands-free soap and paper towel dispensers and taps. This is sort of a COVID update type project, and we're looking forward to when we can let our patrons back in and they can see this, she stated, adding, "We are very thankful and appreciative of this money, as well as all of the past support that the Rotary Club has given to the theatre over the years." In addition to the donations to the Roxy, the Rotary Club supported 9 other local organizations and 3 international causes this year. The donation of $480 went to the Yellowhead Development Society Incorporated to help the Neepawa Curling Club purchase stick curling equipment. Arts Forward received $340 in addition to their regular rental fees for using the facility as a meeting place. NACTV also received a general donation of $200 as an extra thank you for broadcasting the Rotary Auction informational programs. Rotary gave the Beautiful Plains School Division $6,000 for technology to help with remote learning access. Touchwood Park Association was given $6,400 to help pay for furnishing the lounge area of their new day program building. The Beautiful Plains Community Medical Clinic received $2,000 for a new vaccine fridge. The Neepawa chapter of Victoria's Quilts Canada was given $500 to help pay for quilting supplies. A $2,000 scholarship is given to Neepawa Area Collegiate annually to award to a graduating student. The Neepawa Nursery School received $1,000, which came from the club's beer tasting event fundraiser to help them with expenses since government funding was reduced. The international projects that the club donated to were all through Rotary International. Those included $1,504 for Polio Plus, $1,950 for Ripple Effect scholarships, and $1,200 for Shelter Box. The majority of the funding for these donations came from the club's annual Rotary auction, which took place online last December. I think it's just wonderful the way that the community supports our Rotary auction every year, stated Jacobson. That, in turn, allows our club to be able to do these types of presentations here in the community. Really good news story. And you might not be able to make it out because we aren't able to zoom in real close, but we have a really cute set of 3 pictures playing peekaboo. And Sonia Patterson got 3 really good shots of this young squirrel was cautious but brave as the photographer stopped to take pictures of it on June 6th. And as long as they're out in the trees, they're cute. More merch rolling in. The Neepawa Titans have gotten more branded merchandise in the form of mini sticks and pucks. Their store can be found at 243 Hamilton Street in Neepawa. And I think I'll just keep reading through page by page. Page 3 of the first section, Neepawa Roxy keeping busy despite closure. While theaters have been shuttered province-wide for nearly a year, lots of work has been going on behind closed doors at the Roxy. The Neepawa Theatre Centre, NTC, the community board that operates the Roxy, has been very busy with some upgrades to the facility. Kate Jackman Atkinson, board chair for NTC, stated that they had some plans at the beginning of the year for what improvements they wanted to make. But there ended up being a change due to funding. Our initial planned project for this year was to upgrade the ventilation in the concession and redo the carpeting. But we didn't receive grant support for it and decided we really should make sure that some COVID-type upgrades were ready when we reopen. The focus then turned to the facility's washrooms to sanitization equipment. In the 2 washrooms, they will be installing new taps, soap dispensers, and paper towel dispensers, all of which will be hands-free. Jackman Atkinson noted that they have added a few other projects to the bathrooms since they were going to be working in there anyway. Because we are doing so much in there, we are also going to be replacing the countertops in the bathroom because they were quite worn. We are also replacing the flooring in the 2 bathrooms. In addition to the upgrades in the washrooms, NTC also acquired 4 hands-free hand sanitizing stations, which will be able to be placed wherever they're needed in the building. They've also purchased a fogger sanitizer, which will be able to clean the space quickly and effectively. We feel this will ensure better safety for our patrons, Jackman Atkinson said. The sanitizer dispensers and fogger are already purchased and ready to be used. The work on the washrooms, however, is just starting. Jackman Atkinson noted that chalet flooring was on site on Monday to get the flooring installed. NTC Facilities Chair Jeff Braun added that the other items are on order and are expected to arrive in about a month's time. Once they are in, I will be installing the items, he said. Because the Roxy is a non-profit, these capital projects can only happen with support from organizations and individuals supporting the theater. Unfortunately for NTC, the community of Nipah has continually shown its love for this historic facility. And continuing on page 19, money for the project was raised entirely locally, no provincial grants, and came from the Rotary Club, Neepawa Gladstone Co-op, Nipah, and donors who wish to remain anonymous, Jackman Atkinson stated. The formerly planned renovations of the concession room, ventilation, and theater carpeting are still on the agenda, but Jackman Atkinson said that they'll have to get back to applying for grants for that project before it can be tackled. She noted that because of the timing, these more cosmetic fixes were not prioritized by many organizations giving out grants this year, as most of them have been focused on supporting COVID-19 related projects. That was part of the reason they changed their project plans this time around, in combination with the board's desire to make their patrons feel more comfortable with health precautions when they are able to come to the Roxy. As for when that will be, there have been no details released from the province about what kind of businesses will be opening back up in their summer recovery plan. So it's hard to know how soon the Roxy will be able to open its doors. Jackman Atkinson did note, however, that the board has been discussing the options of only opening for private rentals once public health orders allow. Until more restrictions are eased and more moviegoers are comfortable with attending, it's easier to manage from a compliance standpoint. And we won't have to pay a lot to bring in a movie for private rentals. While that option is what has been discussed by the NTC board, Jackman Atkinson added that they haven't decided on anything solid just yet, as it's too early to tell when health orders might allow the Roxy to open. After a year of being closed, some might wonder how the Roxy is faring financially. Jackman Atkinson said they have been pretty fortunate compared to some organizations in that their expenses to maintain the building haven't been too high. She added that the previous board left NTC in a good position with some savings, which has helped. They've also been able to take advantage of some provincial bridge funding grants and have had a lot of support on the popcorn sales that they've been holding recently. We've been able to hold steady, she said. She concluded saying that the community has been a very integral part of the Roxy's longevity. We would really like to thank the community in terms of individuals, organizations, and businesses for their continued support. And with that part of the story, it has a picture of NTC board members Kay Diath and Leslie Strelzik showing off the new bathroom floors at the Roxy, which were installed on Monday, June 14th, which is another COVID-friendly improvement because it helps keep things cleaner. And now we're on to perspectives. We're going to give Rita Friesen's Homebodies priority today, are we facing a post-Christian era? During the Monday evening chat with my sisters, a habit we developed some time ago and try to adhere to diligently, several topics surfaced. Not surprising, for we take the time to review and remember the past, share new ideas, and listen with intent. Sister, the younger, spoke of the novelty of the new terms. She uses pre-pandemic and post-pandemic while sharing her life story with her grandchildren. They are very young now, and this isolation is their normal. Certainly not like the childhoods we experienced. Family and friends stopping by on impulse, heading to a group gathering at Grandma's home, loud, boisterous picnics and outings. Very different times. The terminology led to further discussion. Are we facing a post-Christian era? We are both regular attenders at the service of our choice. Once the doors of our churches open, who will attend? For some of our friends and peers, attendance was a habit. We know how easy it is to break a habit and how challenging it can be to create a good habit. It will have been close to a year since we have freely gathered and sung together in our faith families. It is right and good that it is so. However, when we are once again invited to join like-minded individuals, well, mostly like-minded, who all will return? In this time frame, many of our friends have aged rapidly, graduated to care facilities, become more frail, and some have passed away or moved away. We will look different. The thought of living in a post-Christian era is not reassuring. We do see some large church buildings not used to capacity. We do see closures and amalgamations. Most of us have grown up in communities with a variety of houses of worship. Will they become like the grain elevators, a memory, a picture in a history book? I have been rereading New Harmony by John Philip Newell, the harmony of which he writes is between the spirit, the earth, and the human soul. Again, growing up in a rural setting, we know and remember the sense of oneness with the earth as we splashed in the puddles and ran barefoot in the warm grass. That oneness is unity, harmony with all creation. There are certain places on this planet where we more immediately remember the soul of creation. They are sometimes described as thin places, translucent landscapes, where the division between spirit and matter can scarcely be discerned. These places are like sacraments. The difficulty is that not all have access to a sacred space. Not all realize the importance and necessity of taking the sacraments. I do think of Susanna Wesley, mother of Charles Wesley, the prolific songwriter. She bore 19 children and raised 10. Imagine the busy home without any modern conveniences. It is said that when she sat in her chair and placed her apron over her head, her children knew she had stepped away from the ordinary, the real, to meet with the divine. I do know that we will adjust to the post-pandemic world. May we never need to adjust to a post-Christian world. And overhaul needed, Ken Waddell right in the center. And there is a disclaimer at the end of his column every week that the views expressed in this column are the writer's personal views and are not to be taken as the views of the Banner and press staff nor his wife. Just making that clear this week. For what it's worth, I believe our criminal justice system needs a major overhaul. Let's set the parameters here. I do not believe in capital punishment. While there is a ton of information out there that would indicate that capital punishment is the way to go, I disagree. I know the Bible clearly outlines in the Old Testament that death is the penalty for a multitude of sins. However, the Old Testament is not where we are supposed to be living today. It's the New Testament, and Jesus clearly taught that we are to love one another. In the process of loving one another, we fulfill the law. So what law is he speaking of? He's talking about the original basic laws as handed down in the 10 Commandments, and in those 10 statements, it clearly states that we should not kill. That includes capital punishment, in my view. Then there is a whole wrongful conviction situation. Canada's history has cases where a person has been put to death, usually by hanging, and later it was found out that they were not guilty. Oops, it's a bit late to say sorry. There have also been people charged with murder and put in jail for decades, only to be found not guilty at a later date. At least they survived and could resume some semblance of a normal life when the truth came out. So, in my mind, killing is out, no matter how great the temptation might be. Even the most despicable of crimes should not be met with the state-imposed death. I feel that is what God has taught us, and when we walk away from God's word, we are in all kinds of trouble. What do we do in light of the alleged cold-blooded murder of an RCMP officer in Saskatchewan this past weekend? Allegedly, he was run down by 2 people driving a stolen truck. They allegedly fled the scene, stole another truck, and eventually were arrested. What do we do with these kinds of cases? The 2 involved were allegedly wanted for other crimes and have had a very sketchy past, and that has been dangerous to themselves and to people they came in contact with. We have countless cases of repeat offenders for murder, assault, drug dealing, theft, and general abuse of the public by offenders. One friend of mine said, at least with capital punishment, death that is, there aren't any repeat offenders. There is another solution. If in this most recent case, if the statement about the alleged killing of the police officer and the earlier crimes are all true, these people should have already been in a high security jail for the protection of the public and themselves. They should have been in jail forever perhaps. It drives me crazy when we see photos and warnings to women and children about some guy who's been a chronic sex offender, perhaps even a murderer, and now he's been released to live in a community. Often there is a proviso that he's dangerous and likely to reoffend. That's insane. If a person is a sex offender or a murderer, they should be in jail, in an institution, forever. Why do we tie up police resources chasing after repeat offenders, and in some cases very dangerous repeat offenders, is beyond me. Clean it up, put them away. With that solution, the cry will be human rights and costs. Here's my answer. If you commit murder or other various serious offenses, you lose your human rights to freedom. You keep your right to life, but you get to live in an environment that is relatively safe for you and perhaps more importantly for everybody else. As for the costs, it's cheaper to build jails than it is to bring a police officer back to life, to bring anyone else back to life. It's cheaper to build jails than it is to repair damage done by violent sex and other assault offenses. We operate our society in a very stupid fashion. We need to address the problems and fix the problems. If we send a strong enough message, maybe people intent on violence will think twice about offending. Thou shalt not kill or destroy lives needs to be enforced, as it obviously isn't working the way it's going now. God said, thou shalt not kill, but love one another. Part of loving one another is preventing harm both to the innocent and the guilty, and it's high time we did. And on page 5, Neil Stroshine, faithfully yours, to the class of 2021. First, let me congratulate you on your achievement. You have completed your years of high school and earned enough credits to qualify for graduation, and you have done it in the midst of a pandemic that has caused added stress to you, your families, and your teachers. You have done well, and your community is proud of you all. Up to this point, you and your classmates have walked the path of learning together. You have attended classes, worked on school projects together. Some of you have divided your time between in-class sessions and remote learning. Your smartphones, tablets, and computers have helped you stay in touch with friends when, because of public health orders, it was deemed unsafe to meet and hang out in person. Your last year in high school may have been far from what you imagined it would be 2 years ago, but you have made the most of a less than ideal situation, and for that we commend you. But now your paths will diverge. Some of you will leave home to attend college or university. Some will enter apprenticeship programs. You may already have completed some of the requirements in the last 2 years. Some will take a year off to work before you decide what to do next. Some may move with your families to a community many miles from here. Some of you may already be planning a life together forever with that very special person you met in high school. Whatever your plans and however your futures unfold, one thing is certain: the friendships formed while you were in high school will always be special. You may live miles apart and may only see each other at 10 or 20-year reunions, but that special moment you shared and the life lessons you learned will stay with you forever. In the next few days, your families and friends will be celebrating your achievements with you. Go ahead and enjoy the party. You've waited 12 years and have worked hard for it. You may allow yourselves some time to celebrate with those closest to you. You will also receive many pieces of advice. Receive them graciously. They may not seem relevant to you right now, but one day, when you are facing a serious challenge in life and are wondering how to handle it, one of those gems of wisdom may just be what you need to help you work your way through a problem you've never faced before. I have no significant life-changing advice to give you, but I do have a request. Please do not forget the time, talent, and treasure that the people of the community have invested in you over the last 18 years. Remember those who cared for you while your parents were at work, those who coached your sports teams, those who taught you how to drive, especially how to parallel park a vehicle, the businesses who gave you your first jobs, and those who turned a blind eye to your shenanigans because they remembered that they were once young themselves. Each had a part to help you in helping you become the person you are today. Please do not forget what they have done for you. A good way to honor them would be to follow their example. You were raised in a loving and caring community. We now ask you to love and care for others as we have loved and care for you, and help spread love and care throughout the country and the world. Good words of advice. On the right-hand side of the page, we have a letter, and it's from Lorna Brownlee Little of Nipah, entitled, "I Don't Always Agree, But." This letter is in response to Ken Waddell's article, "Keep It Polite," in the June 11th, 2021 edition of the Banner and Press. The people of Nipah are very fortunate to have a free weekly newspaper. That is where we get all the information of what is happening in our town. Furthermore, the businesses rely on the Banner to let customers know what they will sell and when they have specials. I, like many others, was shocked to learn that people wrote discouraging letters. They don't have to agree with what is said in the right in the center editorial, or they can politely discuss a point in question. I think people, like myself, take for granted our own newspaper and its editing staff. Thanks for the banner and keep up your editorials. I don't always agree with you, but that makes me think. Lorna Brownlee Little. And thumbs up and thumbs down. Well, thumbs up outweigh the thumbs down. There's 4 thumbs up. Kudos to Helen Drysdale for her weekly information on days gone by and the recipes. I find the topics very interesting and wish she could compile all the stories into a book that we could pass down to our younger generation that have no idea how much harder and simpler times, have no idea of much harder and simpler times. Thank you, Helen. Janet Husak, Nipah. Thumbs up to Gloria Speece for the awesome job she does keeping our flowers beautiful. Debbie Smith, Nipah. Kudos to Wayne Cabernell for looking after the community garden and for the gardeners who grow their own fresh vegetables, and to the town staff who till the garden. Lorna Brownlee Little, Nipah. Thumbs up to all the hard workers who participated in the beautiful hanging baskets and flower pots around town. Cindy Lowen, Nipah, Manitoba. Thumbs down to CBC National Morning Show that airs from 8:35 to 10 a.m. called The Current. On Monday, June 14, they finally realized that there is a severe drought, but not in Manitoba. It is important because it is in southern Ontario, with exclamation marks. Rob Smith, Edrins. And finishing off that page, we have Addie Oberlin's observation. This weekend we are celebrating Father's Day. Some children will be honoring or remembering their dad. Others might say they have no dad, so nothing to celebrate. Once I needed to fill out a form. They asked me my mother's maiden name and my father's name. I told the person I did not have a father. Well, he replied, everyone has a father. Legally, I do not have a father. According to my birth certificate, I was raised by foster parents who are my great uncle and great aunt. However, I know there is a Father in heaven who is there for each one of us. If we will let him come into our life, we can celebrate knowing him in a personal way and how much he loves us. God knew us before we were born because he created us and knit me together in my mother's womb. Psalm 139:13. We can talk to him at any time and God will always listen. Let the Lord have his way in our life and celebrate this Father's Day. And a little picture down on the bottom of the page that Kira Patterson took, and it's helping to celebrate a milestone. It's Ken Waddell and myself, Christine Waddell. Last week, the Nipah banner and press staff were treated to a special cake from Wayne Fossum. The treat was in celebration of the 125th anniversary of the Nipah banner and press, which took place on May 28 this year. The staff wishes to thank Wayne for his generosity. The cake was greatly enjoyed by all here in the office. So, we got lots going on. Oh my goodness. Keep track of my time. So we've got Helen Drysdale's Out of Helen's Kitchen and the story of Cora Hind, and that I have to read that. Livestock Water Needs by Sean Kabak, Manitoba Agriculture, and Spruce Plains RCMP report, and a continued section of the creation story by the pastor at the First Baptist Church. But I'll just read left to right, and we'll start with Cora Hind and Helen Drysdale's column. Last week, I talked about the ladies being considered the weaker sex. Today, I will tell you the story of Cora Hind. She was a forerunner in breaking gender barriers, becoming a journalist in a male-dominated newspaper business and in the agriculture field, no less. Born in Ontario in 1861, She became an orphan at a young age. She and her siblings went to live with their grandpa, a farmer. As she grew up, her grandpa instilled the love of the farm in her, which never left her. Having completed high school, her goal was to become a teacher. However, fate stepped in. Two cousins visited with tales of the many opportunities in the West. Cora and her Aunt Alice packed and left for the Wild West. When Cora and Aunt Alice arrived in Winnipeg, Aunt Alice set up a dressmaking shop, and Cora decided to enter journalism. Armed with a letter of introduction from her uncle, the editor of the Manitoba Free Press, she requested for a job. Her request for a job was met, "This is no place for a woman." In an era when women were expected to be married, bear children, and have no opinions of their own, these two plucky ladies had no desire in becoming wives. The typewriter, a new office in innovation, had just arrived in Winnipeg. Cora rented one for a month and taught herself to type. After a job with a firm of lawyers, she went on to open her own open her own typewriting business, becoming the first public stenographer in Manitoba. There, her knowledge of farming and her ability to talk to people of all walks of life and of either gender was a great asset to her. She became a secretary in several farming organizations, gaining more knowledge and experience in agriculture, and began freelancing agricultural articles for the Manitoba Free Press. By 1901, the Free Press had realized their previous error and hired her as the agricultural editor, and at the time, the first female journalist in Western Canada. Her crop estimate appeared in 1904 when a black rust, then new to prairie wheat fields, had hit the crops. A United States crop expert estimated 35 million bushels as the total crop for the West. Cora believed him incorrect, so traveled across the prairie into the wheat fields and made her own inspection. Her appraisal was that the crops in the West would yield between 50 and 55 million bushels. It came to 54 million bushels. From 1904 onward, Cora covered many thousands of miles across the three provinces, talking to farmers and inspecting their crops and making an annual prediction. These predictions of crop yields were very accurate and usually had less than 1% margin of error. For years, her estimates influenced the advance price of Canadian wheat. Cora Hind was a women's suffrage leader, a union supporter, a forerunner in breaking gender roles, and an advocate for the working woman, believing that they were that they were entitled to equal pay for equal work. She helped establish and support women's institutes in Manitoba and Saskatchewan. Cora began her monthly column, The Woman's Quiet Hour, in the Western Home Monthly in May of 1905 and continued until 1922. The column provided her a stage to express her feminine, social, and political views. Cora Hind was a turn of the 20th century first-wave feminist who received little credit for the efforts she made on behalf of women's rights. Cora Hind was, above all, a serious newspaper woman, considered essential reading by farmers as well as writing many books and papers. In her day, she was known worldwide as an agricultural expert. When E. Cora Hind died on October 6, 1942, trading at the Winnipeg Grain Exchange was halted in her memory for 2 minutes. She wrote, "The usual statement is that I am a remarkable woman because I can do it. The implication is that the average woman is too dumb to succeed at a man's task. I resent that implication, for it is false." The impact of Cora Hind had on prairie agriculture cannot be overstated, and as she helped prairie farmers develop the breadbasket of Canada, in recognition of the work she did on prairie flour, in recognition of this loaf recipe, a great addition to any meal and makes up easily, and it's a cheddar bread, and it looks like it makes one loaf of bread, and you'll have to pick up a paper and get that recipe. Spruce Plains RCMP report by Corporal Jacob Stanton, Spruce Plains RCMP. During the week of June 7 to June 13, Spruce Plains RCMP dealt with 43 police activities. June 7, RCMP conducted various traffic enforcement and engaged with several motorists. Tickets were issued for unlawful transportation of cannabis and failing to signal a turn. 8th, RCMP responded to a report of threats being uttered in the RM of Minto-Odana. 2 people were arrested, charged, and released with future court appearances. Police were requested to assist a property dispute in Nipah, which was deemed a civil matter, and police did not attend. The 9th, they received a report of a suspicious person walking along the side highway in the RM of Minto-Odana. Patrols were made, but the person could not be located. Police responded to a 911 hang-up call in Nipah that was later determined to have been dialed accidentally. Police received a report of a stolen skidoo trailer in Clan William. The investigation is ongoing. The 10th, they responded to a report of threats being made on social media in Nipah. The matter is still under investigation. RCMP conducted various traffic enforcement and engaged with several motorists. The 11th, received a report of drugs being found in a rental property that had been vacated in Minnedosa. Police attended the property, seized and destroyed the drugs. Police received reports of vehicles being vandalized in Minnedosa and Nipah. Both matters are still under investigation. On the 12th, RCMP were dispatched to an ATV collision in the municipality of Westlake Gladstone. Both the driver and passenger were taken to the hospital for their injuries. The cause of the accident has yet to be determined, and the matter is still under investigation. Police conducted a COVID compliance check in the RM of Minto-Odana, where all persons were found complying with quarantine regulations. 13th, received a report of a possible impaired driving in Gladstone. Police located and stopped the suspect and conducted an alcohol screening test. The driver blew a warning and was issued a driving suspension and serious offense notice to be forwarded to MPI. Police responded to a vehicle versus deer collision in the RM of North Cypress, Langford. The vehicle was damaged, but the driver was unharmed. RCMP conducted 17 traffic enforcements during this reporting period. And there is a public service announcement. I think it's in here every week about leaving messages and the office being limited in front counter service. Sean Quebec from Manitoba Agriculture reported on the dry fall and lack of snowfall this winter meant runoff this spring was either well below normal or non-existent. Most of southern Manitoba received less than 30% normal precipitation from November to the end of April. And he has advice on pasture watering system considerations and dugout volume calculator. And we're very thankful for the rain we got back a few days ago, and word that you hear around town is we can use more. And looking back over the years by Casper Warren, they do a wonderful job of getting things 110 years ago, G.W. Fraser, 1911, a recent arrival from Scotland, has joined the Bank of Commerce staff here. 10 years later, in 1921, the concrete foundation for the War Memorial, which will adorn the courthouse grounds and also one on which to mount the German gun, are now completed, and work will commence shortly on laying out the grounds and proceeding with erection of the monument. Oh. 90 years ago. If you were not in Oberon last Friday, you missed something. It looked like a section of Brandon Fair. There was no merry-go-round or Ferris wheel, but the Rainbow Circle girls sold 5 gallons of ice cream and several cakes, and could have sold more if they'd had it. Over 200 people turned out to the ball games early in the evening. Claire Oliver's ballpark was almost taxed to the limit, with 3 ball diamonds in action all at once. June 17th, 1941. Nipah took on a military air Saturday morning when number 103 Company Veterans Guard of Canada from Dauphin, Grandview and Gilbert Plains District arrived at the CNR station on their way to Camp Shiloh for 2 weeks training. They were met at the depot by Lieutenant Colin Mann and the local pipe band consisting of piper Robert Simpson, James Harper, and Albert Walker. There were 99 in the ranks and 6 officers that arrived by train, and the local squad that left Nipah consisted of 1 officer and 18 other ranks. Several of the veterans from Nipah could not leave. Saturday with the visitors from the north, but they left early Sunday morning. 70 years ago, in June of 21st, 1951, the first sod was turned and work started on Nipah's new 6-sheet curling rink. On June 11th, W.G. Pollock turned the first sod at the site on 5th Avenue, south of the old curling rink. Mr. Pollock is a former president of the Nipah Curling Rink Holding Company and an honorary life member of the local curling club. The lots on which the rink is being built were obtained from P.R. Murray in the exchange of the lots on which the old rink stands. Percy R. Murray purchased the old rink for use as Nipah's first truck depot and is converting the front part into suites for living quarters for employees of the truck service. John Simpson, pioneer resident of Nipah, marked his 95th birthday Saturday, June 16th at the home of his daughter, Mrs. R.H. Weems, with whom he makes his home. Mr. Simpson, believed to be the town's oldest resident, was born in Holton County, Ontario. He came to Nipah in 1895. 60 years ago, June 16th, 1961, Surveys Officer J.J. Seychelles of the Sanatorium Board of Manitoba reported this week that 695 people had positive tests during the recent tuberculin skin test and chest X-ray survey held in Nipah for residents of the town of Nipah, the RM of Langford, and part of the RM of Rosedale. 695 positive tests. The report did not state whether the X-rays indicated the presence of tuberculosis in any of the 695 who test indicated a propensity for it. Inkerman, Mr. and Mrs. James Devison attended the 35th anniversary of the co-op elevator in Basswood Friday night. 50 years ago, June 17th, 1971, the Public Schools Finance Board has rejected an appeal by the Beautiful Plains School Division to reconsider the Building Project Committee's refusal of plans for an addition to the Carberry Collegiate. 40 years ago, June 18th, 1981, Neepawa's disabled hit the road on Monday, June 15th, when the Neepawa District Disabled Persons Van made its public service. That's the handy van. The van is now available to residents of Neepawa. Within the next 2 months, services will be made available to all participating areas, said Fred Gray, chairman of the Neepawa and District Disabled Persons Association. And there's an editor's note. Though it did not have a full story to go with it, a photo related to local TV station Access 12's first broadcast was also featured in this edition of the paper. The photo depicted Kathy Michalchuk and Ted Deller preparing for the cable channel's initial broadcast, which was shown on Saturday, June 13th at 6:30 p.m. The cast included Michalchuk as the news rep, Janet Cochran as the sports rep, and Reverend Mel Walters presented the weather. The production crew was a set of local high school students with CKX assisting. 30 years ago, 1991, Rob Hawkins and his staff were presented with a plaque from the Chamber of Commerce President Betty Kozak. Nipah Pharmacy was the winner of the Best in the West store decoration contest held during the fair last week. Most businesses in town were done up to the teeth with the Western theme. 20 years ago, June 18th, overproduction coupled with weak sales are behind a proposed shutdown of the Neepawa Good Life ice cream plant during the month of July. Plant manager Chris Gillis said employees are being asked to take the first 2 weeks of the month as a holiday, and they will be then laid off for the last 2. And the photo that was chosen is of the sod turning for the curling rink in 1951. Large group of people all identified there. Kira Patterson has an article on graduation under regulations for William Morton Collegiate Institute, and because there are so many graduates, no offense to William Morton, but I think I will skip over that one. Lovely pictures of the banners that they have for all their grads in Gladstone are featured in that story. I'm going to read the right-hand page first. Page 11, Intergenerational Pen Pals. I think this is an ongoing project. And Neepawa grade 5 students writing letters to Country Meadow residents. And this is by Kira Patterson. I'll read the letters first. This first letter is, I can't see the person's signature on it. The first one is, Dearest Georgine, my heart is pumping for joy and gladness as I read your letter. How are you today? I've been playing volleyball this week. I train with my friend. Have you played volleyball? Or any sport when you were younger? Our dog Harley is now learning new tricks. And Georgine's response from Country Meadows, so your parents have a garden? My husband has a garden, and I am looking forward to him bringing fresh vegetables. My granddaughter is graduating from grade 12 this month. I'm looking forward to seeing her in her grad dress. Thank you for writing me this school year. Have a great summer, and good luck in grade 6. Your friend, Georgine. And another letter from Sandra Cabrera to Lillian. At school, we are learning lots of new things. In math, I am learning algebra. I think I'm starting to understand it. In science, we planted some pea plants to grow at it is really fun to watch them grow. My hand's cramping. Have you grown a vegetable garden? Hope you can visit with your family and friends soon. From your friend Sander. And this is the letter he got back from Lillian Radford, or Rodford. It's part of one letter. Thank you so much for writing back. I was very happy to hear from you again. It is nice to hear what you are learning at school. I did have many gardens. The best garden I grew was when I lived in Rivers. I had enough vegetables like tomatoes and zucchini to share with lots of friends. I love to watch vegetable seeds grow too. And the other writer, it's Jiden Maramara, and part of his letter to Georgine and Georgine Smith, and part of her reply. And there's a flower in the picture, a hibiscus flower that was drawn by Georgine. And this is a project. The Neepawa Middle School's Grade 5 Adopt a Grandparent program has been looking a little different lately. In normal years, the Grade 5 students would go to Country Meadows personal care home a few times a year and visit with the residents, learning new skills from them, playing games, and just getting to know their adopted grandparent. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic, however, visitation has been limited at Country Meadows since spring of last year, making the class's regular outings impossible. Country Meadows Activities Director Marcia Forg and Grade 5 teacher Sylvie Tomanico figured out a way to still connect with residents, with the kids, starting up letter correspondence between the groups. The kids did the letters because we couldn't visit in person, so Marcia and I thought it would be a way they could connect. We started this last spring during COVID, and then this year's class continued, explained Tomanico. We tried to keep the letters really positive because we knew that grandparents weren't able to visit in person. It was a way to connect through the generations and for our students to learn about what life was like for the grandparents and how it compares to theirs. This year's Grade 5s have exchanged letters with their grandparents a few times already. In many of the letters, I read how they're trying to make connections with their grandparent. Tomanico stated, the kids here are so genuinely excited to read the letters and write back. In this digital age, it is nice for the kids and the grandparents to have an authentic connection through written letters in an olden days style, she added. The students and residents shared with each other what hobbies they enjoy and told each other about their families, what school was like for them. Students are also made artwork for the residents many times with their letters, such as Valentine's cards, Christmas cards, spring flowers added for you. The residents really enjoyed getting the letters from the students. Common comments were how nice it is that they wrote again to me and how it would have been nice to meet their pen pal in person, Forgue shared. They have enjoyed their letters and artwork, and many have displayed them in their rooms to show off. Forgue expressed her thanks to Tomanico for helping make the program possible, as well as the letter writers themselves. I would like to thank the Grade 5 students that participated in the Intergenerational Pen Pal program this school year. Your letters really did brighten everyone's day. Everyone's worked really hard to do this. So I've got a lot of pages. I'm just at the middle. I'm going to maybe do a synopsis, and if there's a really important one with my 15 minutes left, I'll read more of it. Don't want to miss out. The Neepawa Elks are keeping up their good works, and they have made a donation to Elks Manor. Elks members Jim Small, Gerald Buchanan received 60-year membership pins from Les Walker. The Neepawa Elks, represented by Exalted Ruler Jim Small, presented Myra Bennett of NACTV with a check of $100. It's out in front of Elks Manor. So NACTV appreciates that. And so they're still active and busy, and make sure you read that when you get a chance. High Life Food donates to Touchwood's Day program, and there's a picture of that. There's Buy a Pie for a Pooch Park, an online fundraiser to help bring an off-leash dog park to Neepawa. It's out there on Facebook very actively, and I think the local fundraiser is hoping to raise some cash and help get the dream of an off-leash dog park in Neepawa up and running once again. Funds for Pups was an idea suggested recently by Val Wilson on social media. The concept is somewhat similar to the recent campaign that raised over $5,600 to purchase equipment for the Neepawa Volunteer Fire Department. And there's more to that story, but we'll hit some sportsing stories, as it's affectionately called in the back room of the Neepawa Banner and Press. A highlight is Hayden Welpton wrangles himself a rodeo scholarship. He's NACI grad, commits to Dawson College in Montana. He has competed primarily in calf and team roping over the past few years, and there's a lovely photo of him signing his letter of commitment with Dawson College. Sorry, Owen, I may come back to it, but congratulations to him. Miles Brister commits to ACC soccer program, and Assiniboine Community College released that, gave us a press release. Miles Brister has become the first player from Neepawa to commit to the 2021 Cougar roster. Brister is a 5'9" fullback that played every minute of every game for the NACI Tigers before soccer was canceled due to COVID restrictions. So I may come back to that if I have time. The Titans have made a trade for a pair of players. The players they acquired rights to forward Kieran Thiessen and defenseman Brody Melstead. Thiessen was picked up via trade with the Wayway-Sakapa Wolverines. He was acquired by sending a list rights of forward Brandon McCartney to Wayway, and his stats are there. Thiessen's from Landmark, Manitoba. Melstead, meanwhile, was picked up through a deal with the Winnipeg Freeze, which has sent the list right to Matthew Waddell back the other way. The 18-year-old is originally from Winnipeg and played just 5 games with the Freeze last year before the season was halted. And NACI Collegiate Institute is receiving $1,000 thanks to former Neepawa Titan forward Brady Morrison. Earlier this year, the 20-year-old was selected as Neepawa's representative for the RBC MJHL Community Ambassador. Sportsing's getting a short shrift this week. Thanks to Gladwin Scott down at Carberry. Carberry gets well covered, and we've got community profile on Scott Stevenson. Scott Stevenson, formerly of Austin, is a courageous young man. In his mid-30s, he left his construction job and went back to school at Pambrum, Saskatchewan, about 80 kilometers southwest of Swift Current. Scott is a gifted singer who is a people person and is Evangelical Free Church. He successfully completed 2 years of study at Miller College of the Bible and the same institution when his current pastor Joel Friesen Asked how challenging it was to be back in school after 15 years, Stevenson replied in a telephone interview, "If my house came back home and had not been sold, I would have quit after one month. It was a great challenge to begin reading assignments and writing essays again. Most of my fellow students were teenagers. COVID-19 has not affected us as badly in Saskatchewan as in Manitoba. We were divided into groups to provide religious services, which turned out to be a valuable experience. During the summer months, Scott remains busy with construction and working for a farmer. His father, Cyril, is the chairman of the Evangelical Free Church Board in Carberry. Scott is happy that he made a huge change, and we wish him continued success." And on a younger note, Talon Graham of Carberry, 16, is a Carberry collegiate student who will complete his grade 11 studies at the end of June. He's played badminton but really enjoys hockey with high school Wildcats squad in the Westman League. He did well in the grade 10 industrial arts welding class with instructor Gary Solomon and has spent 1 year as an apprentice electrician with Smart Electric. People who have had a positive influence in his development are his dad, Brad, and his grade 7 teacher, Scott Brown, who motivated him to do his best. He has a part-time job at the East End, co-owned by his dad, Brad Graham. And numerous really good here and there points that are there. I apologize, Gladwin Scott. If I read again, I'm going to make sure I go to the page first and get you included. But it wouldn't be a reading of the Neepawa Banner and Press if we didn't include some important features that people really, really like to see. Of those are anniversaries. Happy 40th anniversary to Hans and Christine Peterson. Congratulations to Lene Topham, granddaughter of Henry and Elsie Mosden, graduate of the University of Lethbridge with a Bachelor of Nursing. And then the obituaries, and I won't read the details. Please pick up a copy and make sure that you read these. There's Vincent Geldhart, Gail Ann Mack, Gerald Clarence Orr, Marjorie Mina Morrison, and a thank you from the family of Muriel McPhail at the time of her passing. And a really, really special happy birthday to Anne Gladden on her 100th birthday, June 19th. So happy, and there was a really good article that the staff put together on Annie's life. Just very inspiring. And there's a Riding Mountains National Park by Ken Kingdon. Let's go back. I may be able to quickly include here and there from Gladwin Scott. Gladwin does a tremendous job and we appreciate it. So, the plan for the local pool opening is Monday, June 21st, if health regulations permit. And the pool staff include, I won't give their positions, but in order of seniority and authority, Caitlin Myers, Noah Goslin, Quinn Thorne, Aidan Town, Zoe Couples, Tyler Hood, Braden Knox, Tanel Steen, Dahlia Snaith, Lexi Unraw, Nate Robson. Glenboro South Cyprus RM has hired James Drysdale of Carberry as the permanent public works supervisor after 1 year of a term position effective June 15th. Side note, congratulations. He's the son of our recipe history writer, Helen Drysdale, and his dad was Alan Drysdale, who worked for us for years, so I can't help but make a little note of that. Oh, There's an Elkhorn Lagoon. Cherry Creek Place is the name chosen for the new assisted living complex in Voisevane. Somerset branch of the Royal Bank has given notice that it will close in November and a merger will take place with Manitou branch. That's getting further south. He makes a positive comment about the Titans and the new branding. Manitoba Baseball Hall of Fame's Father's Day baseball pool, he's got something on that. The Joint Council of Carberry and North Cyprus met virtually May 31st, and it says who all is present. And there's a brief synopsis of that. Gladwin works terrifically hard, and we really appreciate what he does. If you're down that way or know Gladwin, make sure you say thank you. No one's irreplaceable, but Gladwin comes close. So there's just a lot to see this week in the Neepawa Banner and Press, and please pick it up. There's a lot of photographs of grads, pages of them. I've managed to get a copy with only one of the sections. There is a B section and a C section with all the graduates from the area: Erickson, William Martin Collegiate, Alonza, St. Rose, McCreary, Glenella, Gladstone's William Morton Collegiate, NACI, Neepawa and Area Collegiate, Minnedosa, Carberry Willerton School, one of the colonies, Edrins Christian School, Parkview Colony, Acadia Colony, Riverbend, Spruce Woods Colony, Grass River Colony. So many, and there's another section of the paper that I don't have in my hands to tell you about. So thank you for watching reading of the Neepawa Banner and Press. Tune in again another time, and Gladwin, I'll try and make sure I read you first. Honest. I'll try and do that. So thank you for tuning in. If you want to volunteer, none of the jobs are onerous, and our background staff are absolutely amazing. Thank you to Levi and Jeremy, Rain, and Anne. They just do a tremendous job, plus the board. So thank you to everybody at NACTV and for letting us read the Neepawa Banner Press every week. Come back again next week.